Hello, this is Mary Grace with my second Quilting Bee YouTube. And as I was setting up for it, not that it's scripted, but I do have a lot of notes over here so I know what to say, and I have all my props. I was thinking about the grandma quilter who I've been watching from Quilt Feck, who always says, no impoliteness here, no pattern police, no quilt police. It's just for you to have fun. I was thinking, I guess I do my quilt tubes a lot like people do floss tubes, but I still haven't figured out what I'm doing yet, and hopefully we'll all have some fun with me doing whatever it is I do. So, Christmas is past. It's January. It's not the end of the month, but next weekend is going to be hectic, so I thought I'd do it this weekend. And the more stuff I put together, the more I realized I might actually have a YouTube that lasts more than 10 minutes. Christmas. For Christmas, I over-directed my children again. That's the way it goes. And I had my son get me these charm packs because I want to do that quilt that's a tree with the sky around it and then hang things off it. So I had him give me this quilt pack. But I went to lay out the pattern and realized as many greens as had come in this quilt pack, I didn't have enough. So we went to the fabric store and we bought these two. It took us half an hour or more to find two more shades of hunter green, this gorgeous fabric. And I bought about a yard of each. And my son said, "Mom, that's way too much." And he was right. I'm used to buying for garments and you need 2 and 3 yards of things. And quilting, sometimes you only need half a yard. And I need to learn that. But I think I have somewhere else I could use these fabrics, so it'll all be okay. Also for Christmas, my mother gave me Joanne money, and I used that to buy myself some squares so I could square things up and some nice fabrics, threads rather. So I have them. And while my son and I were in the store buying this gorgeous material, we heard somebody mention, do you have those clips? And I was like, oh, you're talking about those quilting clips. So I used some Joanne's money to get quilting clips. Oh my goodness. I know all you experienced quilters are saying, you started quilting without those? Yes. Yes, I did. These are so cool when you're doing an actual quilt, which I am doing my first quilt. Everything I did previous to this, and I think you can see it behind me, was really just one block. And when you do just one block, an applique, you don't need these. But I think I told you all right before Christmas that I had joined the Friendship Star Quilters in Gaithersburg, and I had jumped right in to do one of their service project quilts, and I took it home and I laid it out, and I thought, this should not be my first quilt. So I went to the thrift store because that's my favorite place to go. And you would not believe what I found. I found a bunch of blocks already cut out. And when I laid them out, this is the pattern I came up with, although it was a little short. And like I said, I visited my mother over the holiday season, and she happened to give me some red material. It's not quite the same quality, but it's still some cotton material. And I'm also going to use it. I had just enough that I can also do a side frame on this to make the quilt. I didn't know what size I wanted to make this little baby quilt, but with the red borders on each side, that happened to be the same size of the leftover batting from my quilting monstrosity. This is my quilting monstrosity. Because this was both of these were kind of like inherited quilts. I'm a Girl Scout, and at our camp they had this gorgeous t-shirt quilt, and somebody else had taken it down, taken it apart, and I was putting it back together, and I had to buy new batting, and I bought batting, and I cut the batting, and I left her batting, and this is my practice quilt before I work on the friendship quilt. And I didn't know what size to make my practice quilt. I was trying to go with whatever size I happen to have of XYZ. And the leftover piece of batting I happen to have is the same size as this quilt will be with the red corners. So although I did this already, and like I said, it's a monstrosity because, see this gaping hole here? I have sewn that area together like 4 times. I keep having to rip it out. I'm going to baste it. I'm going to get it right. But small scale is easier for practicing. So I've used the cool new clips. I did not know that clips were so awesome. Put this together. And I even got quite a few of my, okay, not there. Yeah, there's a set of corners that look good. I think that's why I'm going to stick to applique or crazy quilts where I can hide what happens in the corners. But I wanted to, I wanted to practice it. So I've practiced this part, and then I jumped in to doing the quilt that they gave me because of all you. I have about a dozen floss tubes related to embroidery, cross stitch, and about 35 people have watched them. But this, my first quilting one, okay, so it's not this one, it was the prior one, 300 of you watched it. So I was so jazzed about quilting some more. So thank you for just inspiring me. I was like, people actually watched it. Okay, maybe only 20 seconds worth, but that's good. So I was all jazzed to do things. I mean, for me, I've done a lot of quilting in a month. I put this one together. Well, okay, I still need to add a lot more. And then I even jump started on this one. And if you're thinking that blue looks like that blue, you're right. I went to start on this one, which the Friendship Star Quilters is so awesome with their service project. They give you all the pieces cut, except that there was one that was missing. And at first I was going to use my favorite brown that I use everywhere, that my kid just also used in a pair of pants, but it didn't look right. I haven't yet reached that point where I would have ever used these pebbles in this quilt or this gray. Although I must say, I think this blue that I've now added in this gray, I think it really makes it pop. I think it makes the cats pop, so I'm pleased about that. I'm still very, very, way too much picky with my material. I had to find just the right green hunter material to go with all of these. It took me half an hour to do that. Thank goodness I had my son there to help me. But I'm still very picky, and I still fall in love, hence buying a yard of something that I only need a quarter of a yard of. So I'm still growing in my quilting experience. But look, I did this since I spoke to y'all last. And I did this. This I just need to add the parts. There's a side ribbing that you put on. That's all I have to do for the service project. This one, once I've got it together, I'm going to use my walking foot. Although I must tell you, I do not like how the walking foot works on my Singer C7290. It's very hard to get the walking foot on there. You would think after 100 years they could make it easier to change out the feet. Actually, the feet on my sewing machine change out just fine. It's just when I have to change the ankle and put on the walking foot, it's not easy. When you have to take that screw completely off, they really need to make that screw have a pointier beginning so it's easier to get in there and then screw. But in this day and age, why the heck is it even a screw? I mean, it should be something easier. Someone at Singer needs to make it easier. But I love Singers. Although I kind of wish I'd got one with a bigger throat now that I know more. But I love Singers. So, that's what I'm going to keep quilting with. So I have these two that I've done. But that's not the only type of quilting I like to do, or I should say not the only type of quilting that interests me. I'm also working on this wall hanging quilt that's going to be a combination of embroidery. Look at this cardinal that I embroidered. Look at how perfectly the snowflake comes as an eye. I am so thrilled about that. And then I have my blue jay. And I've decided for this fourth panel, it's going to be another owl. I've been using this 2 books. Birds of a... Oh, I am not sponsored by anybody. No promotions. But I thought I should tell you about what I'm using in case you want to use it. I got this awesome Birds of a Feather book. Now, in truth, the birds were way too big. I had to shrink them by 64%. But I really like how they turned out. They're just perfect. I think applique is going to be my thing. And then I have this owl's book. And unfortunately, actually, the first time I put the owl on here, I did him full size. Where'd he go? He's here somewhere. Okay, I did it full size. And it was too big because there wouldn't be enough room to do any echo quilting around it. So I took it off. And I didn't realize there still is a little bit of glue residue here. I'm just going to have to ignore it. You can't see it, right? Oh, okay, he still needs eyes and stuff, but So these are the 2 books that I have been using to do this quilt. And then I'm also working on my crazy quilt. I'm trying. Since I've last shown this to you, I have done 2 new stitches. I did one of these is the Cretan stitch, and I forget what the other one's called, but I practiced them both here like you're supposed to. And actually, I hope to make this into part of a quilt one day. That's the quilt I really want to do. An embroidered quilt with flowers and adding all the greenery by hand. And then there's the Christmas quilt that I'm trying to do it with. So I practice the stitch here. I don't want my practice to go to waste. Then I do the stitch here, which is going to be my actual crazy quilt. I know, it's really not that crazy yet. I'm still working on that whole crazy theory. I like lines. I haven't quite made the crazy leap, but it could happen. And I am a hand embroiderist, was my first love, actually cross stitch is my first love, but now I'm trying to expand into hand embroidery, and I want to integrate it into my quilts. So hence this. Hence me going to Capital Quilts, which is my local quilt store, and they had these great little fabric stashes for $3.50. I got all this awesome fabric. I want more of this awesome fabric. I bought it specifically because it's all cut up. I can use it in a crazy quilt. And I think I want to do hand stitching. So, I've been watching y'all. I've been watching Lala D Stitches and the recovering monogamous stitcher. She does cross stitch at the front and quilting at the end. And so I bought myself, actually, those 2 people have nothing to do with hand stitching. But I've been watching other people whose names I forgot to get. And I've gone and gotten myself one of these clover marker turners. And I got myself some big stitch needles because I like hand stitching. I like to stitch when I'm watching TV and then working on, and I can't really use my machine when I'm on TV. Although I can use my machine when I'm on my Craft and Books Zooms, because you can't hear my machine. I can still be in the Zoom. It's awesome. So I want to thank them for that. That is great. But here's the thing I learned today. So there's this great thing called the Maryland Register that I read, of course, when I got home. And of course, it had a 15% off coupon for Capital Quilts that I just left. So I'll have to go back. Oh, the tragedy of it. And hopefully they still have the Halloween fabric, and maybe I'll get some more. Of course, as discussed, for a crazy quilt, you don't need that much. Who knows? So that is not. I have one more thing I want to share with you. It's right here on the floor. I thought I had gotten to the quilt party late because I was thinking to myself, especially when it comes to a t-shirt quilt. My kids have been in Scouts for years. This is these t-shirts here that went by here very quickly. This is for a Girl Scout camp that I volunteer at called Brighton Woods. And my child and I actually each have about 10 t-shirts from that camp. but I should have gotten my child bigger t-shirts when they were younger, but I didn't know we'd be going there for 10 years. And if I'd collected t-shirts, I could have made them, each of my children, a t-shirt quilt if I'd held on to them. Didn't happen. But the reason I found out that I'm late to the quilting party is I found this awesome material on eBay. I love the owls. And then I found this awesome material. And I thought, wow, they look like they're meant together. Okay. Today I did find out they're actually by the same designer. They're both by Dan Morse, and they're both from 2017. So, if you're watching this and you happen to have some of this fabric in your stash and you would like to part with it, let me know. In my stash that I would more than willing to part with, because I have not used it, is this funky fabric. I know, it's really cool fabric. I don't think I'm going to use it. I've even got like the pillows parts here. Yeah, I've even got the little pillow parts. So if that was your jam, or thrift store haul. I love thrift stores. So I already talked about this whole quilt that I got the pieces for so that I could make the practice quilt from the thrift store. But most recently, when I was at the thrift store, I found this gorgeous material. I was thinking, look, I'm thinking outside the box. See my owl back there? The wings? Wouldn't this make great wings almost? Like if you're looking at this, if I cut a big block like I did for my owl here in my embroidery, it looks like wings to me. So I picked up that fabric, and then I picked up a bunch of browns, which I forgot to bring over here. But I also, inside was this North Moose window panel, including the buttons. So if this is one of your white whales that you can't find, again, reach out to me. Maybe we could exchange some moose stuff and for some witch stuff, because if you haven't figured it out, I'm all into owls and witches. Quilt material exchange, especially if you live in the Rockville area and if you're a Friendship Star quilter, definitely, maybe you can hook something up, or maybe now that I've sent it out into the universe, it will find me. Either way, that I believe is all of my quilting since last we spoke. And I'm not sure when we'll speak again because it's tax season and I'm a CPA and I got to work on Saturdays now. But I'm rebelling today. And so you all are part of my rebellion. I hope you have enjoyed looking at my quilt haul from Christmas. And I hope that you enjoy quilting. Have a great day. Bye.